what they say? They say he can't be killed. They say he drinks blood. They say...
I say you're full of shit, nuts.
Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City?
You are my number one guard. You can call me Joker. I'm glad you're dead. Wait till they get a load of me. You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Just get those wonderful toys. I need you. You made me first. I am the world's first fully functioning homicidal artist. What do I look like? I'm joking. Don't kill me, man.
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of the WayBack Movies Podcast, a show where we review the best and not so best of 80s and 90s cinema, because really, fuck the 2000s. My name is Steve, and with me on this crazy journey,
Justin.
Doctor.
And
we're back. And holy shit, is this going to take a minute. So I'm saying let's forego the preamble and let's just get right to it.
Just say what it is.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Don't worry. So we're going way back to June 23rd, 1989 for the Tim Burton classic Batman. Okay, so here we are, 1989. I'm, I think, 3 months away from seeing it in the theater. I think I went in September or October, one of the two.
I'm almost 2.
Yep, you're young. Thanks for making me feel old.
Sorry, 1 even.
Yeah. So, so here we are. Like I said, we're covering Tim Burton's classic, Batman.
You say it's funny that you say
Yes.
Tim Burton classic.
Mm-hmm.
Because doesn't he hate this movie?
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah.
You act like I don't have all this.
But it's just funny. It's just
You've
funny.
seen the 900 pages in front of me. Trust me.
But it's just funny that because you're right. It is a Tim Burton classic, but
it's not really a Tim Burton classic, and I'll get to that as this goes. But we all know it as a Tim Burton film. So with that being said, let's talk about it. So, Batman, directed by Tim Burton, kind of. Screenplay by Sam Hamm and Warren Scarron. Story by Sam Hamm, based on Batman by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. That's right.
Yeah, don't let the title
fool you. I will not. I know normally we have a rule where I go by the exact titles that are there, but I will not do that for this. Produced by John Peters and Peter Guber. John Peters. If you're a Kevin Smith fan, you know why that's funny.
Giant fucking spider.
Exactly. I watched that this morning just for the shit of it. It was fucking hilarious.
One of the best stories.
That man is amazing. Production company, Warner Brothers Pictures and Guber Peters Company. Distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. A box office of $411.5 million against a budget of $35 million.
That's a lot of dollars.
That's some fucking money. I looked it up for inflation. That's just under $900 million.
Woo!
On a budget of, I think it was $80 million.
Damn. Almost $1 billion movie.
Films wish they could make that much money now. Yep. There is not a single film that could make that money now.
Films wish they made the unadjusted for inflation number.
That's true. But as far as money spent to profit, even Marvel movies don't hit that money.
No, because Marvel movies don't cost
$300 million.
Yeah.
Like this is stupid money.
Although if you do the argument of $2 billion versus how much they spend, I'm sure the ratio is equivalent. Yeah, but I don't want to get it. I'm not a numbers guy.
Here's why I will fight that: the prices for a ticket, even with inflation,
that's why it's
significantly cheaper.
That's why it's always
for Batman, which means
an almost impossible argument.
More eyeballs saw this than saw any of the MCU films.
I don't know. Again, I don't know.
I think they have, just because prices for the films, like prices for a movie ticket, is significantly higher even without inflation.
Either way, we got we got 10 pages.
Metric fuck ton of money. Is all I'm saying. Okay, so the cast: Jack Nicholson plays Jack Napier, the Joker.
Fuck, he does. Yeah, he does.
And he gets top billing. and it was in his contract. Michael Keaton plays Bruce Wayne Batman. The Bruce Wayne Batman. Kim Basinger is Vicky Vale. Robert Wool is Alexander Knox. Pat Hingle is Commissioner Gordon. Billy D. Williams, the coolest man on the planet, plays Harvey Dent. Michael Goff is Alfred Pennyworth, although they never say that. Jack Palance is Carl Grissom. Jerry Hall is Alicia. Tracy Walter is Bob the Goon, which, yes, that's his fucking name, which is genius. Lee Wallace is Mayor Borg, and William Hootkins is Lieutenant Eckhart.
That's a great name.
Isn't it, though?
Sporkins!
Yep. Yep. So, before we get into the film proper, I would like to give you a bit of a history of the creation of the greatest comic book villain ever made. Come at me, bro. The Joker.
Not the Trickster.
Or
whatever. What was the Flash?
The Trickster, yeah, it was the Trickster. The other Mark Hamill played character on the TV series.
Look that one up, kids.
Yeah, well, no, he was on the. He played.
Oh, right.
He played it on the new one, too. They brought him back for that. That's why Greg Berlanti's a goddamn genius. The Joker is created by Bob Kane, Bill Finger, and Jerry Robinson. Maybe. I'll get to that. Much like the Joker himself, there are 3 versions of the creation, and I will get to that in a second.
Well, that's ironic, isn't it?
Isn't it, though? Debuted in Batman #1, April 25th, 1940. All 3, before they died, claimed different circumstances for the Joker's creation, each providing his own version of the events. Finger's, Kane's, and Robinson's versions acknowledge that Finger produced an image of actor Conrad Veidt, a character as Gwynplaine, a man with a disfigured face giving him a perpetual grin in the 1928 film The Man Who Laughs, as an inspiration for the Joker's appearance, and Robinson produced a sketch of a Joker playing card. Yeah, if you've ever seen at least just the image of the dude in fucking...
Like, if you Google it, yeah.
It's so fucked up looking. It is so awesome, though. And that movie is fantastic, by the way. It's a silent film, but goddamn is it good. Really fucked up, great story. But talk about that amongst yourselves. We're not going back to 1928.
Damn it, I want to do Metropolis.
I'd be all for that. Maybe we can do a special month where we just do nothing but, like, silent and fucking 20s and 30s films. Bob Kane said, Bill Finger and I created the Joker. Bill was the writer. Jerry Robinson came to me with a playing card of the Joker. That's the way I sum it up. Bill Finger had a book with a photograph of Conrad Veidt and showed it to me and said, here's the Joker. Jerry Robinson had absolutely nothing to do with it, but he'll always say he created it until he dies, which he did. Because unfortunately all 3 of them are dead. He brought in a playing card which we used for a couple of issues for him, the Joker, to use as a playing card. As his playing card. None of these say this fun little way that they supposedly came up with it, so I'll just throw it in here quickly. Supposedly, they were all sitting around a table, and they were like, it's going to be Batman #1, what's the first issue we should have? And then apparently, according to Jerry Robinson, even though he doesn't say it here, he did apparently have like this cinematic way of doing it, where he was like, he had a deck of cards in his hands, and he literally just pulled out the Joker, and he just threw it on the table and said, that's the villain. I want that to be true, because that's the movie version.
Well, you know what? Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Right? So, Jerry Robinson said, in the first meeting when I showed them the sketch of the Joker, Bill said it reminded him of Conrad Veidt in The Man Who Laughs. That was the first mention of it. He can be credited, and Bob himself will play a role in it. The concept was mine. Bill finished the first script with my outline of the persona and what should happen in the first story. He wrote the script of that, so he really was co-creator, and Bob and I did the visuals. However, Bill Finger said, I got a call from Bob Kane. He had a new villain. When I arrived, he was holding a playing card. Apparently Jerry Robinson or Bob, I don't know who, looked at the card, and they had an idea for a character, the Joker. Bob made a rough sketch of it. At first, it didn't look much like the Joker, which sounds actually very accurate. It looked like a clown, but I remembered that Grosset and Dunlap formerly used very cheap editions of classics by Alexandre Dumas and Victor Hugo. The volume I had was The Man Who Laughs. His face had been permanently operated on so that he was always looking like he had a perpetual grin, and it looked absolutely weird. I cut the picture out of the book and gave it to Bob, who drew the profile, and gave it a more sinister aspect. Then he worked on the face, made him look like he looked a little clown-like, which accounted for his white face, red lips, and green hair, and that was the Joker. The Joker initially appeared as a remorseless serial killer who killed his victims with Joker venom, a toxin which left their faces smiling grotesquely. The character was intended to be killed in his second appearance in Batman #1. They used to have multiple stories per issue. After being stabbed in the heart. Finger wanted the Joker to die because of his concern that recurring villains would make Batman appear inept. But was overruled by then-editor Whitney Ellsworth. A hastily drawn panel indicating that the Joker was still alive was added to the comic. The Joker went on to appear in 9 of Batman's first 12 issues, immediately regarding him as Batman's arch-nemesis. I mean, that has been the thing for Batman for years, is that he's kind of inept, or more so Arkham Asylum is inept.
Well, I just think, because they put on an Arkham, right? Because they just keep escaping, but I like that initially they're like, we don't want these people reoccurring, and that's what Batman is most known for, is these reoccurring villains.
Yep. Well,
like, maybe more than most superheroes. Like, his rogues gallery, like, other than, like, as a Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's...
Like, the
well, that's, I mean, that's how I always say it. It's like, I always say that, like, Batman has the most diverse villain profile, like, the largest rogues gallery, but it's really the same 12 people that show up all the time.
Like the 12 main...
and,
you know,
12.
Like, Spider-Man is like the
Spider-Man's got the same deal.
Right?
But yeah, it's very much... But at the same time, yeah, it's very much that. And no other hero has that kind of recurring thing. But it's actually a good thing, because Batman has, like, 12. Spider-Man has, like, 6 or 7. Everybody else has, like, 1. That's, like, their main guy. And some of them are taken from other people. Like, the Kingpin, for instance, that is mostly Daredevil's main villain. He's a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
Was for a very long time. So... It's a weird thing that Batman had so many.
The X-Men have Magneto.
And
whatever...
And a handful of other guys that sort of whenever... Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, there's the occasional people like, you get like Mr. Sinister or something like that, but they're not really a big deal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's kind of weird that like only Batman and Spider-Man are kind of the ones who are like, all of these villains are big, and there's like a bunch of them. It's weird, but it's true. Anyway, so the production of this film, which is going to take the bulk of this because this took a long fucking time to make. In the 1970s, Batman's popularity was waning. CBS was interested in producing a Batman in outer space film. This fell through rather quickly.
Jesus, that would have been quite the fucking acid trip.
Wouldn't it, though? I kind of want to see it. Producers Benjamin Melniker and Michael E. Uslan purchased the film rights to Batman from DC Comics on October 3rd, 1979.
Yeah, you doing it.
That's how it's written here, dude. I copy and pasted it, man. I'm not gonna... Do you think I was typing all this shit out? I don't have that kind of time. My fingers would break. It was Uslan's wish to make the definitive dark, serious version of Batman the way Bob Kane and Bill Finger had envisioned him in 1939, a creature of the night stalking criminals in the shadows. I need to point out that I just looked up Benjamin Melniker, this producer. He lived to be 104 years old.
Good for you, Methuselah. Jesus. All right.
That man lived a long-ass time. Uslan was unsuccessful in pitching Batman to various movie studios because they wanted the film to be similar to the campy 1960s TV series. Columbia Pictures and United Artists were among those who turned down the film. A disappointed Uslan then wrote a script titled Return of the Batman to give the film industry a better idea of the vision of the film. Uslan later compared its dark tone to that of The Dark Knight Returns, which the script predated by 6 years.
No Bat Tootsies here.
No. We're not doing any of that. In November 1979, producers John Peters and Peter Guber joined the project. The 4 producers felt it was best to pattern the film's development after that of Superman, which came out the year prior. Uslan, Melniker, and Guber pitched Batman to Universal Pictures, but the studio turned it down. Though no movie studios were yet involved, the project was publicly announced with a budget of $15 million in July of 1980. At the Comic Art Convention of New York. Warner Brothers, the studio behind the successful Superman film franchise, decided to also accept and produce Batman. Melniker and Uslan were demoted and became executive producers, a decision they were not thrilled about. Tom Mankiewicz, who is a consultant on Superman, the movie, completed a script titled The Batman in June 1983, focusing on Batman and Dick Grayson's origins, with the Joker and Rupert Thorne as villains, and Silver State Cloud as the romantic interest, basing it on the comic Batman Strange Apparitions, Detective Comics 469-479, produced in 1977-78 by Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers.
It's funny, because you're progressively getting angry as you read that.
No, that wasn't me angry.
I thought you were just like, it's supposed to be.
No, just because unfortunately we were talking about this right before we went on air. Is that basically. And that it does come into it. It's like, it's so kind of funny because we were talking about this. Of like, there's so many characters in this movie that have comic book counterparts, but they're not the comic book counterparts. And there's a reason for it, and I do get there. But it's just kind of funny me saying that. Rogers was hired for concept art in the film, The Batman, which was announced in late 1983 for a mid-85 release. On a budget of $20 million. Originally, Mankiewicz had wanted an unknown actor for Batman, William Holden for James Gordon, David Niven for Alfred Pennyworth, and Peter O'Toole for the Penguin, whom